All right, with that, we are live, I believe. I hope you guys can all hear us okay and see us okay. Give us a quick thumbs up or something if you are able to hear us. But Kirk and I'm here for our year-end celebration of life, of the year, of the YouTube channel, whatever you want to call it. We're just very excited, right, Kirk?
Absolutely. We've had
Mm.
an amazing 2022, both of us in our personal lives as well as our professional lives. And we're excited to spend the end of this year with you guys, talk a little bit about some upcoming products, maybe a little Land Cruiser stuff, and then also look forward into the new year. So,
Absolutely. And you know what? This year we were able to finally get together. I was in LA and Kirk and I got together. I'm not sure if you guys saw our live stream then. But believe it or not, we've been collaborating for almost 2 years now. And this year is the first year we actually got to meet with each other. So that was super exciting. And Kirk is, as expected, I'm an amazing guy in person as well as meeting on virtually. And so I'm thankful for Kirk's friendship. And we share a lot of stuff together, right, Kirk?
yeah, I mean, the friendship is the most important thing, but our friendship is due to common interests in a lot of things, and one of those happens to be anything Toyota. So a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. And, it doesn't just have to be Land Cruiser because, maybe there's some things, there's a lot of things we don't know still. So we'll talk about conjecture, but we can also talk about other products and keep the conversation rolling outside of the Land Cruiser if need be.
Right. Yeah. So we wanted to, talk about Land Cruiser for sure, because that's in the minds of everyone. But whatever you want to talk about, especially, I guess, Forerunner, which is always a hot topic, as well as Lexus GX I bought recently, or whatever you want, we can cover those topics. So keep the questions going. Hopefully, we can keep up with all of you guys. There's many of you who are very familiar to us, are online right now. Jimmy and Mike from Right Lang Hog. Many of you guys that we're very familiar with. So thank you so much for joining us. And if we start to fall behind the questions, you might have to just repost it. Just really thankful for the Merry Christmas messages so far. But yeah, anytime you guys are ready, give us some questions. I'll start by talking about how everyone is saying, how could Toyota possibly add another SUV, right? That's probably the biggest thing in people's mind about why would there be a Forerunner, then the Land Cruiser Prado or whatever they might call it, then the Sequoia, all in the same sort of market, and still have the Highlander, the Grand Highlander, and on Lexus side we have the TX and the GX. My goodness, there's a lot of SUVs, both body on frame and unitized body, all competing in the same price range, about the same size, plus or minus a little bit. So that's probably the biggest question that I've been hearing from a lot of people. Kirk, you're hearing the same thing on your side?
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people are worried about too much product, but it's good to have options. It's good to have choice. Toyota wants to give the buyers the choice, assuming availability is there and production stays strong. And it's not like we're adding an all new vehicle. And in some ways we are, and we'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. But the Land Cruiser's been in the U.S. lineup and North American lineup for our friends north of the border as well. Gosh, since what, the 50s or something like that. So
Yes.
it's really just restoring the lineup to at least the nameplate to where it should be here in North America.
Yeah, so I think losing the Land Cruiser name was a big deal for the dealers, right? In the US, in Canada, we haven't had it for a long time, so
Oh, okay.
it's even more. I think it's over. I don't know, more than 10 years that we haven't had
Wow.
Land Cruisers. So for us, it's even more meaningful if the nameplate comes back. Now, a bit of a bragging right for us, I guess, is that we were really one of the first one to predict that it would be Land Cruiser Prado, and likely not the larger Land Cruiser 300 series
Mhm.
coming back. Now, jury is still out on that, but I
Sure.
was
No
surprised
official
to.
announcements. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But I was surprised to hear from Roman and Andre and those guys talking at the TFL, saying they have another source that confirmed it's a Land Cruiser Prado
Okay.
and not the Land Cruiser. So if that source is in fact correct, then our prediction appears to be correct. So that's a big deal because some people want the Land Cruiser 300 back, and others say, no, don't bring that back if it's not going to sell anyways. What do you think,
Right.
Kirk?
Yeah, I think the market for the Land Cruiser 300 in North America is very, very small. And the LX, which from the Lexus lineup, LX now 600, is the same vehicle, but a little bit nicer. And it's pretty much the same price point. And it's been reflected in the sales. So the LX definitely can shoulder the load for the Land Cruiser 300 here in North America, just because the robustness, robust nature of the Lexus brand here in North America, and just how good the LX is and has been. Like down here in South Florida, I see quite a few Land Cruisers, but I see also a ton of LXs. A part of that is just the opulence of the culture down here. Just the amount of money they have is just insane. They can get whatever they want. And the insane part is that I'll see 25-year-old LXs that look brand new, the gold badges and everything. It's really, really cool to see. And I know they're going to hold on to them to the grave, essentially. But yeah, the LX,
and they'll last forever, right?
Especially down here. I mean, warm temperatures year round, no salt on the roads. Yeah, good weather and good roads too. Like I know the Land Cruiser can travel over anything, but when you just have flat roads, there's nothing to challenge it. So.
Well, we don't get too much snow here, but last 2 days we had a snowstorm, almost 2 feet of snow. Trying to clean my Lexus GX this morning, and
Whoa. Yeah, I saw you posted what was it, a short talking about that? How does the GX handle the snow, right?
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah, it's pretty good. I actually drove the so I have a Mitsubishi Outlander this week, a plug-in hybrid for a press car, and also my wife's it's the plug-in hybrid Mitsubishi Outlander
I'm
plug-in
so jealous.
hybrid.
I want to try that out. How is it?
Yeah, it's really good. It's I mean, it's a little bit different from the RAV4 Prime that we own. It's a lot more luxurious. It's more comfortable, smoother. Yeah, it's pretty good for about the same price.
Right.
So I have that with the winter tires, and have my wife's RAV4 Prime with all season, and then the Lexus GX with also with the all season. So I was driving all three of them up and down the hill to see if there's much difference. The GX is, I guess we apologize. We're kind of diverging off here, but that's what Livestream is about.
For sure.
The Land Cruiser, sorry, not Land Cruiser. The GX is fantastic in the snow, even with the all-season OEM tires, is really good. It has a Michelin Latitude Tour tires, which is unusual because usually GX has a Bridgestone derailleur tires, but this one is really good. It's heavy. It doesn't slide. And then the Mitsubishi Outlander, because it has a winter tire, it's also really good. Not quite as good, but almost as good. And then my wife's RAV4 Prime is not bad, but it has all-season tires. It's a lighter car. It's front wheel biased the way for the engineers to RAV4. It does slide a little bit. So it was kind of interesting to see to compare all three on this heavy snow, which we don't get too often.
Right.
So yeah, anything else from your end, Kirk, about what we should cover today? Because we got 120 people now, getting some momentum here for our topic. So we should almost reintroduce our topic for today.
I mean, we'll get further down. I mean, I'll just read Jagon17. He says Toyota should bring back the FJ Cruiser, and I think Toyota knows there's a big demand for the FJ in the secondhand market, and there's a lot of people that want to see it come back into the market in some way, shape, or form. And I think this is a good opportunity for Toyota to give it to some of that FJ design, some of the FJ styling onto this Prado. We don't know what they're going to call it other than Land Cruiser. And I think, they could easily put it on some of the FJ magic onto this Land Cruiser here in North America. And the interesting thing is we don't know if the Land Cruiser that we get, even though it'll be more than likely Prado based, if it will differ design wise from the global product as well. So
right, yeah, so let's try to see if we can kind of just quickly summarize what we think will happen. So Land Cruiser 300 series, I don't think will come to North America. I think that's going to stay in Asia and Middle East and Europe, and instead this is kind of our prediction putting our heads together. First up, obviously, is a Grand Highlander, which can be introduced in Chicago, February 8th, I think.
Correct.
Right? And are you going to that one, Kirk?
I was invited,
You know?
but you know,
Mm.
I would rather live stream it. So, David, if you want to come and I don't know what you're doing, but if you want to hang out on my channel and live stream the
Let's do
reveal
that.
of the Grand Highlander, I think that would be more fun, to be honest, than traveling to Chicago in the winter. And
I agree. Yeah, I'm supposed to be, I think, in Toronto for Toronto Auto Show the following week, so I probably won't go to Chicago. So
gotcha.
let's live stream for Grand Highlander.
Do it.
So keep that. So that's the first one that's coming out, and
Mhm.
then I don't want to include every model in Toyota lineup, but there should be a Tacoma introduction reveal sometime. I don't know, following 3 or 4 months after that. I don't know, probably summertime, June, July, August time frame. So that's a big news for truck buyers. All
Huge.
new Tacoma,
Yeah.
probably 2.4-liter turbocharged 4, which I know people are upset about. But, well, the GM midsize compact trucks are all 4-cylinder now too. So
Mhm.
it's not just Toyota losing that. So that
Mhm.
should come out in the summertime. This is our guess. And then followed by the around the same time, the Lexus TX on the Lexus side,
Mhm.
right? Should be a few months after the Grand Highlander. So that
Yep.
should come up. Don't forget, both of them are unitized body, not body on the frame, right?
Right.
Correct. And then I think Land Cruiser, whatever they call it, Land Cruiser Prado, at the end of the year. That's what we think. That's our speculation. And it's more, I should say it's more than speculation. I'm like 99.999% sure that it will be a Land Cruiser arriving sometime in 23 calendar year. It might not be called Land Cruiser, could be called Land Cruiser Prado. I'm sure this is no longer fiction. It's actually happening. It's happening for both Canada and the US. There's enough people in the circle of network that's confirming it that without breaking any confidentiality agreement with anything, we can still say it is happening. Kirk, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we even take a step back and we go back to the Tacoma coming out, we know it's on the same platform. Well, the new F platform for Toyota, the new body on frame truck base, but now it's going to be in like everything. Every new product started. What was it? The Land Cruiser 300 and the Tundra were the first ones, then the Sequoia. So I kind of see what the Land Cruiser could be when we get an idea, because I'm assuming the Tacoma will be revealed first. So it's kind of a miniaturization of the F platform as we know it. So when we see the Tacoma, it's almost going to be like, well, the Prado could very much be the Sequoia to the Tundra, if that makes sense. So we'll see we can make estimations when we get the Tacoma. We can kind of extrapolate from there what the Prado could very well be like, at least for our market here in North America. Outside of North America, of course, you guys will have diesel options and other things, maybe hybrid diesels that's on the docket as well. So, yeah, I think we'll know more about the Land Cruiser as soon as we know more about the Tacoma.
Absolutely. And obviously, we're not hearing anything official from Toyota on this. So,
Sure.
I guess they're keeping pretty hush. But even the dealer principal who apparently have seen some of these models are talking about with their customers. So customers are talking about it. And so cats are out of the bag for sure. And then just to finish that story, the Lexus GX, which is based on the current Land Cruiser Prado and sister model to the Prado, should also come out a few months after that. So I expect Land Cruiser Prado, some kind of reveal end of this 2023, and a couple months later, Lexus GX. So that's all happening in the next 12 to 16 months. That's a lot of different models, right, Kirk?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this year is going to be insane for Toyota. Sorry, I was kind of reading comments there and squelching the spam bots in there, but we have, I think if we don't know, I mean, you're fairly confident about getting Land Cruiser information this year, but like we're 100% going to get the new GX by the end of 2023. When I say this year, I mean 2023, not 2022. So by the end of 2023, we'll have a new GX, and that is the Prado. It's just a little bit nicer and a different engine configuration. So yeah, the writing's going to be on the wall. It's just a matter of the confirmation by Toyota. We'll have Tacoma information, we'll have GX information, and you can kind of pick and choose what you want from those two F platform vehicles that are kind of shrunken down from what we have with the F300 and the Tundra Sequoia. And we'll have a lot of information without even Toyota saying anything about the new Prado.
Exactly. Yeah, and then just to clarify, the TNGA platform, which is the new platform that all of the trucks are based on, there's two different sizes. The larger one, which is TNGA F1, that's the Land Cruiser 300, the Lexus LX, the Tundra, the Sequoia, and then the slightly smaller version, which is the F2 platform, is the Tacoma, the Land Cruiser Prado, GX, and then eventually also what am I missing here?
Hilux, Innova,
Hilux and Innova, Fortuner. But
Fortuner,
although
yeah.
the Fortuner, Innova, and the Hilux are, I think, actually could be F3, like TNG F3. It's slightly different from the F2, from what I understand. So those are some interesting tiered ways. And I know, oh, sorry, and then the new Foreigner eventually, right, will be on the
Right, right, right.
TNG F2
Yeah.
platform. And then people were always asking, okay, how do we know that the Forerunner will still be built in Japan versus North America? Well, you just have to look at the platform, and you have to see where they're built. And in Tahara factory, they have the Land Cruiser Prado and the GX and the Forerunner built side by side on the exact
Mhm.
same line. I've been there at least 6-7 times. So there's no way they're going to take the Forerunner out of that lineup and plug it into the Mexico factory just to bring it a little bit closer to North America. It makes no sense at all from engineering perspective, because
Right.
similar models have to be built on the same line.
Totally.
And the Tacoma factory in Mexico is so tapped out. They're
Exactly.
like
Yep.
really tapped. There's no way they can add one more model there, right?
Yep. Same thing for the
So
San Antonio plant with the Sequoia and Tundra.
you can't
Completely
add any
maxed out.
more.
They can't add anything more there.
Yeah. So those are some prediction, but I guess people are still asking about the Forerunner. Kirk, what do you think that might come out? It gets
Man,
pushed. It keeps
we
getting
you
pushed
and I have
out.
kind of talked about this. Like, there's more information on the Land Cruiser than there is for Forerunner, and that's just crazy because the Land Cruiser is not even in the market in North America. Yeah, the Forerunner is still a big mystery. I'm still trying to figure out how Toyota will separate the two products. I think the Land Cruiser maybe could be a little bit more expensive, more of a Bronco Wrangler sort of fighter. This is just my guessing. I don't have any confirmation on this. I'm just trying to figure out how they do this, and maybe the Forerunner be the Forerunner, but they could also call the Forerunner like a Land Cruiser Forerunner, and then they could call the Prado the Land Cruiser Prado. I mean,
Yeah,
how
it
I
could.
see the Forerunner, it's already a Land Cruiser in my head, kind of
It
like
is
the F8
basically, yeah.
Cruiser, kind of like the GX and LX. Those are all Land Cruisers. So
Yeah. Yes, I mean, Land Cruiser could be its own sub-brand, I guess, at some point. But
mhm.
honestly, if you peel the onions off the car and just forget the naming scheme for a second, underneath they're very similar. Just the body shell is different, but underneath the way they connect the drivetrain, the way they're manufactured in the Tahara factory are all very similar.
Mhm.
So I know some people, not in this comment, but in the previous video, said, "Oh no, Land Cruiser Prado is not Land Cruiser. It's not the same." Well, actually, they are basically the same. It's just the frame gets stretched out a little bit,
Yeah.
lengthwise and widthwise. But if you peel the thing off and look inside the body and the frame, it's a very similar design between Land Cruiser and Land Cruiser Prado. In fact, with a new Land Cruiser, if you look at the frame and compare it to Sequoia and Tundra, it's almost the same. So you
Yeah.
could literally call Tundra the Land Cruiser truck and Sequoia a Land Cruiser XL, right?
Yeah. XL.
This
Yep.
is honestly,
Yep.
engineering perspective wise, they're basically the same thing. Even the engine's same.
Yeah, and that's what the TNGA platform's all about, is being able to modify just slightly to reduce costs and to improve, I guess, I don't know, almost like a redundancy to have
Reduce
better,
cost.
yeah, to reduce costs to just and better reliability when you're able to mass produce everything essentially on the same essential piece of Play-Doh.
Yeah, Toyota is a mastermind when it comes to parts sharing, engineering sharing, platform sharing. So yeah, all these different names, Forerunner, Land Cruiser, whatever you want to call it, it's just a marketing term, but really underneath, many of these vehicles are very similar, almost identical. So that brings us back to the Forerunner. I think the Forerunner is a year behind everything else. So like a fall of 2024. Is that right? Yeah, as a 2025. So about a year after the Land Cruiser. And I think anyway, this is my personal opinion. The reason why this whole thing happened is because they're trying to come up with something to compete with the Ford Bronco, right? Or Wrangler. They all moved up in price, but they probably figured, hey, if we make the Forerunner move up in price, now you've got this big gap underneath. It's too expensive. So why not slide in a more expensive version of a Forerunner, bring the Land Cruiser name, that will cover the Bronco upper end of the pricing scheme, and that will allow Forerunner to be simpler and to keep it at a lower price range, not to lose customer at that price range. So, and because it's popular, the current model, they don't have to change it for a year or so, a couple of years, and then by the time they change it, the Land Cruiser or Prado would have had its own, set of loyal customers, and sliding underneath is the Forerunner with a lower price tag. And so I think it's kind of 1-2 approach, like a 2-tier approach, I think. So it makes sense to me, although it's still a bit of a surprise that they're doing this. What do you think, Rick?
It is a surprise. Yeah, I mean, it's not that it feels like yesterday when the Land Cruiser was canceled here in USA. So, less than 2 years, I guess, around 2 years later.
Yeah,
They're saying,
it's only about a couple of years.
Yeah, they're saying, hey, it's back. And so that in itself is a surprise. It almost felt like it was gone forever.
It does feel like forever.
So I'm still and I was okay because understanding that the Lexus GX and LX are just nicer Land Cruisers, I was okay in being like, well, we get these products here in America, but it is a missed opportunity. I said years back, when I saw the Bronco nameplate like coming and being strong, and the Wrangler just taking off, I'm like, that all happened when the Land Cruiser was being canceled. I'm like, this is a huge missed opportunity. They should have a entry level Land Cruiser like the Suzuki Jimny or the Samurai, whatever you want to call it. That should be boom, $20,000 to $30,000 Land Cruiser, super cheap, and then you have like a Forerunner type vehicle, and then you have the ultimate top of the range. There should at least be a 3 model lineup because the Land Cruiser name does pack so much name and brand recognition, and they just let go of it. It's really sad to see, but it's almost like reminds me of Nissan. They let the Skyline name go by the wayside. And I know it's never been really a Skyline in North America, but Ford now owns that that trademark. So
that's true. Yeah, I love the Skyliner. We grew up with those cars, right? But by the way, I'm going back to Japan in 3 weeks, Kirk. So for the Tokyo Auto Salon, maybe I can do a live stream from there. Maybe I can somehow patch you in. I don't know about the time zone difference, but I want to know what do you think they'll introduce there? We're changing topic a little bit, guys. If you guys are okay with that, but what do you think they will show at the show, at the Auto Salon? Which is, I'm kind of super excited because it's a huge thing these days. Even a bigger show than the Tokyo Motor Show.
It is, yeah.
Now.
Well, last year was a huge surprise. We got a lot of cool things from the Japanese automakers. A lot of it was, of course, domestic focused with like camper minivans. Like when I say minivans, like K-car minivans, stuff like that. So, I think we'll see some more electrification of those K-cars as well. Nissan Sakura K-car just got not only K-car of the year, but car of the year.
Yeah. I did see that in Japan a few weeks ago.
And, they're capitalizing on a market that no one else has jumped on yet, which is quite surprising, but that's just the fact of the matter. Because essentially the battery pack and the Sakura is the same size as a plug-in hybrid battery pack. So probably the other manufacturer, like, I'd rather use it for other things and make more money outside the domestic market. I get it. But what else will we see? Well, I was surprised last year that Toyota showed the GT3 concept. That will be a Lexus 100%. I don't know if they'll ever have a Toyota variant of it, but I think maybe they take a next step and say, okay, here's the final design of the, I don't know what they're going to call it, the LFR that's trademarked. So maybe they call it the Lexus LFR, and we'll have all sorts of different variations, a GT3 version, maybe a plug-in hybrid version, maybe twin turbo V8, separate from the twin turbo V8 plug-in hybrid. So that's what I'm hoping for. There's a lot of other things that Mazda could be coming out with. Honda's not really big in Japan.
Not really.
Not really. And Nissan.
I think it'll be last year. The
Yeah.
Nissan and Toyota were the two big press conferences. Akio Toyoda, he came last year, so I heard that Akio Toyoda is coming again this year. So I'll get to see him. I've met him quite a few times in the past at the different auto shows, but so he'll be there. He loves GR, anything GR. So there should be another GR presentation of some kind, like you said, could be the GT3. I met the designer of that electrified sports concept thing, and I guess I can't remember the exact full name of it, in Pebble Beach when I went there. A Japanese guy based in California. Sorry, I forgot the name now, but I tried to probe him a little bit more about, is that design coming through? When can we see more of that design? He's being taught well, not to speak to media too much, but he hinted that there's more to come. So maybe we'll see some evolved version of the sports car, maybe something closer to final version. But I don't know, they introduced a lot of stuff already, right? GR Corolla, and I'm not sure what else they're going to have in surprise for us. But we'll
maybe
find out.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but they could announce something like the GRMN Supra. There's been rumors for at least a year that with a 500 horsepower
that could definitely happen.
Engine with maybe give it a DCT, even though gosh, that 8-speed ZF is so good on the Supra. Do you still have a Supra? I think you had a Supra, right?
I saw that. Yeah, I saw the Supra. Then I bought Lexus IS 500. Then I sold that again. So I know people gets upset every time I buy and sell different cars, but I don't keep them very long. So I kind of miss the Supra. I don't miss the IS 500 as much as I thought. That one is a little bit of a disappointment. Not the engine. The engine was amazing. It's the best engine you can get, but the rest of the car is too much like a normal sports sedan. It didn't stand out. So I did sell that, but I like I like trucks, so I like my Lexus GX. I still have the 4Runner, and they're very similar, but I like the GX for sure. I'm definitely maybe a truck guy. At the end of the day, I like SUVs and trucks probably.
Yeah, I like them all. I like everything. So
I know some people ask me how many cars I own. Well, I own a small engineering company that have a company car, a fleet of company cars. So there's 6 company cars. I don't drive all of them, but I can drive any of them because I own them, I guess, as far as company is concerned. So we have a 4Runner, the Lexus GX, we have RAV4 Prime, RAV4 Hybrid, we have a normal Highlander, and then I have a Porsche Macan GTS. Those are all the cars in our fleet. But we sold the Tundra. So we sold the Tundra to buy the GX, in case people didn't know. And that was a bit of a disappointing thing because I actually really wanted to keep the Tundra, but I could not have kept both. So it was one or the other. So it was time to move on.
Some people are asking, they want to see a Toyota Stout. A vehicle like that, it's interesting because that trademark was made, I think, in South America.
Right?
Yeah, so it would have to be like a global model based off the K platform. It would have to slot underneath the Tacoma and Hilux globally. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think Toyota could absolutely benefit from having a smaller pickup truck to compete, most especially against the Ford Maverick and a little bit the Santa Cruz. So Toyota would, they have the Tacoma and that midsize pickup truck, or I don't know I think it's probably midsize, right? They have that market essentially to themselves.
They do,
and I bet they would have the small pickup truck market, at least half of it, or a big chunk of it. It would almost be like 40% Toyota, 40% Ford, and then Hyundai would have the last, 20%, something like that. So
yeah,
I would love to see it.
They definitely should bring some kind of Corolla-based truck, right? I did a rendering a while back on that one, but I think an executive was talking about that with Automotive news or something, I think, right? Saying that something like that could happen. But
It's a
I think
possibility.
they have to do it, right? It makes so much
It's a no-brainer
sense.
to me.
Yeah, there's no brainer for that one.
To me, it makes more sense than bringing the Land Cruiser in. Land Cruiser is going to be small volume in comparison. So that's just my take.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
Chad Miller and a few other like Yukon strikers saying, hey, MR2, there's been a lot of talk on MR2 teaming up with like Suzuki, using a Suzuki engine, to split the costs and whatnot. That would be amazing. What are your thoughts on a new MR2, David?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fully electric is what we're hearing, right? The MR2.
Well, that's a possibility. So yeah,
it's been quiet the last little while though from Best Car Magazine in terms of, it's been a while, I think, since we heard about MR2.
Yeah, so there was also another article from Reuters not too long ago talking about MR2. But yeah, it's been a bit quiet recently.
It could look like one of those electric cars that Akio Toda showed last year, a year ago, I suppose. What was it called now? EV Sports Coupe concept or something?
Yeah, it was a GR BEV something.
Yeah, could look something like that, I guess. But I mean, it'd be so fun if they bring the MR2 or Celica back. Bring all these names back. That'd be so cool.
Yeah,
Celica, which I mean, they brought the Crown back. Still not happy with the Crown design though.
They brought the worst Crown design to America.
What's going on? I have not come across anyone who likes it.
I told the Prius chief engineer as well as one of the Toyota PR people from Japan. I had dinner with them at the Prius event. I'm like, well, number one, I wanted the yellow color on the Prius, and a lot of other people did too. But yeah, the Crown, like, you guys have 3 amazing designs for the Crown, and the least attractive you brought to America.
Exactly.
And I'm like, please just bring one of the other 3, like preferably the sedan. And I told them bring it as a Lexus GS because that design is out of this world. And they said that, they said like, hey, this was the sedan, the rear wheel drive sedan was a last second scramble because Akio said, hey, people are
asking for it.
The CEOs in Japan are asking for rear wheel FR, right? FR sedan.
They want a real Crown, not a modern interpretation of the Crown,
not a
right?
sissy crossover, right?
No, and the funny thing is that thing is not even a crossover. It just looks like a crossover, but it doesn't have a 5-door hatch.
Yeah.
Like, hello, Toyota does many things right, but once in a while they do weird things that none of us can understand. And anyway, but if they bring they bring the Crown Estate or the Crown
Sport
SUV, I think it's called. Sport, is it called? Let me
Crown
see if
Sport. The Crown Sport is the BEV one that was kind of ported over from Akio Toyota's presentation last year. It's the red one.
Right, Sport. Let me see if I can.
Crown Sports, there's Crown Estate, and then there's Crown Royal is what they're ironic, right? The Canadian whiskey. Crown Royal is what they're calling the sedan, the real sedan, not the. And the marketing's funny because like in Japan they call the our version of the Crown, they call it the crossover, and in America they call it the sedan.
Did they? Oh, okay. I didn't even realize.
Very confusing.
It's very confusing. I can't find the photo right now, but anyway, here. No, if I click on Crown, it just shows. Oh, here we go. Let me see if I can share the.
And well, yeah, okay. So I want to talk on this too. Jagons says, I like the Crown, but it's very, very expensive. And man, I feel you because I like the Lexus ES a lot. I'm wearing a Lexus Santa hat right now. I don't know if you guys see that, but like the Crown comes in at Lexus ES pricing, and the Lexus ES is a better car in my opinion. And you get the Lexus badge and you get the Lexus service on the customer experience. And I know the Crown's a good vehicle, but in my opinion, it's on the interior, it's not as good as the ES.
No, exactly.
The ride isn't quite as smooth and I guess, I don't know, luxurious as the ES.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, you and I both drove the Crown. Nothing wrong with the Crown. Good engine, good performance. It handles pretty good. It's agile, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel super upscale. It just feels like a modern interpretation of a Camry or a Avalon sort of thing. It doesn't feel like a Crown,
Right.
but that name has so much depth and meaning in Japan,
Right.
right? So I got the slide here. That's they call it Sport, I think. That's the one
Crown
that looks like
Sport, yeah, the red one.
it looks like a Ferrari SUV in the front. Honestly,
Right.
it's very similar. It looks like a Porsche Macan in the rear, but it looks super
It
good.
does.
And that's the
It's a
sedan
great
here.
looking car.
Yeah.
And the best Camry designs I've seen for the next generation from artists is taking this vehicle, the Crown Sport, that red one, and
Mhm.
putting it in a sedan body, and it's just
You
stunning.
look really good.
Mhm.
But I like this I can't seem to find it now. I like this not oh, sorry, I'm getting the wrong photo here,
I would
guys.
take that one. I'd love to drive that one.
I'm looking for the estate, the gold yellow estate one, which I can't seem to find right now. But
I guess it's in that kind of
it's
picture
in
there.
this. It's in here somewhere. It's right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little hard to see. So that one I think is
That would
actually
do
the
so
best
well, like,
looking. That'd
this
be a hot seller.
it would sell well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the one I would go for, but that's what this market in North America fawns over. The Subaru
Exactly.
Outback it has that market kind of to itself. The Volvos are a little bit too expensive for mainstream, right? So the Outback kind of is just like reigns supreme as this lifted wagon. And that to me is the same sort of, I don't know, genre of vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they got this, all four models here, and like you said, Kirk. I don't know the left one here, the one that looks the most strange, is the one that's made that debut, and
No.
so I don't know. It's not a first good impression, but I'm sure Toyota had some reasons for this. I really think maybe it was meant for Asian market. I don't know why they would bring that to North American market, but anyways, we're probably deviating a little bit from our truck discussion. So let me stop sharing that for a second. Yeah. So what else? What else is coming? What else is coming in North America? Well, we'll see the Grand Highlander very soon, so there's not a huge surprise with that one. Oh, you know what? We should talk about the engine in the Land Cruiser. Going back to Land Cruiser
Absolutely.
conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has to be one of the two engines, either the 3.4 twin turbo V6 with or without hybrid, or it's going to be the 2.4 turbocharged four-cylinder engine. Which one do you think, Kirk, will be in the Land Cruiser Prado if it's a
Turbo
Prado?
V6 is for the GX.
Yeah,
Almost
for sure.
100% sure, because GX 550's trademark is going to be a slightly detuned version of what's in the LX 57 or LX 600. So twin turbo V6 hybrid. Eventually, we don't even have that in the LX or the Land Cruiser 300. That's only in the Tundra and the Sequoia. So we're going to take a step back. Like the V6, the V35A FTS makes 389, I think, horsepower in the Tundra, 409 in the LX. But they're going to detune it just a little bit. So it makes 348 horsepower in the SR Tundra and 405 pound-feet of torque. I expect the torque to kind of be the same, but they're going to run it and tune it probably on premium. So you're probably going to have maybe 370 horsepower or something. That's my guess for the GX
Right.
550 to slot.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to make the LX 600 to make sense on paper. But I think it's a bit silly, to be honest, because really it would have no problem running the 409 horsepower, to my understanding, unless they put some different hardware in there. I don't know how much that makes sense from a manufacturing standpoint to put different hardware in there other than just to detune it on the computer level. What are your thoughts there on the GX? And I guess we'll get into the Prado Land Cruiser.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on the GX. It will be for sure be a 3.4 turbo V6 with a hybrid, because like you said, the trademark is already there. The big question is, would the Land Cruiser Prado, just to stay somewhat below the GX, go with a 2.4 turbo, or would it be a detuned non-hybrid version of the 3.4? So I mean, at first, my inclination was to say it will likely be the V6 because the Forerunner, I think, will be 2.4 turbo. But if the GX already has a V6, maybe the Prado will have a 2.4. That's a little difficult one to say. I mean, Highlander and everything else is all four-cylinder now. But in my heart, if the Land Cruiser Prado has a turbocharged 4, I'm not going to buy it, to be honest. I just cannot buy a Land Cruiser with a turbocharged 4. I would definitely buy the GX in that case. But so in my heart, I wanted it to be a V6, but most likely it'll be a 2.4 turbo.
So there's the rumors that I'm hearing, take it with a grain of salt, is that Land Cruiser wouldn't have the twin turbo V6. Like we said, that'd be saved for the GX, LX, and other larger vehicles on the F platform. But what I've heard, again, take it with a grain of salt, is inline four turbo hybrid. My guess would be 10-speed auto, taking the 2.4 liter turbo. You would be getting somewhere over 300, around 310, 315 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque with the full electrification built in.
Are you talking about the GX now or the Prado?
No. I'm talking about the Prado or Land Cruiser.
Okay.
So, and Toyota very well could call something like this. We have Hybrid Max on, let's say the Lexus, Lexus 5 LX RX 500, but also the Crown Platinum, at least in America, has the Hybrid Max. But for the F platform, they call it iForce Max.
That's right. Yeah.
When they hybridize the turbo engine. So this could be a lesser engine output of the iForce Max. Exclusive, potentially exclusive to maybe higher end trims of the Tacoma and this Land Cruiser.
The TRD Pros or maybe the Trail Hunter versions, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I have to admit, even though I like technology and everything, I'm still not quite sure about the 2.4 turbos in these larger vehicles. There's no problem with in terms of power and torque. They just don't feel the same, like even in the Crown, right? Even in the Crown, you step on that engine, it goes fast. There's no question, but it's got the buzzy noise. You can really tell that. No, it's not super refined. Engine has to work hard to get to those numbers.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's a bit rough. After driving, I just got out of a turbo 4-cylinder at the Super 2.0. That thing is smooth as butter. A lot like Honda's turbo engines. Those things are smooth. Sewing machine.
On the Supra, did you say the Supra 2.0? 2.0, that's 3.0.
Yeah, the 2.0 Supra.
2.0, yeah.
The 3.0 is smooth too. But the 2.0 is the first time I've driven it on the streets, and it's a perfect engine for the streets, in my opinion. And man, it was so smooth. It reminds me a lot of Honda's 2-liter turbo that's in a whole bunch of stuff on the Acura and Type R, for example. And rest in peace, it's no longer on the Accord. So it's just, I know that there's smoother, more refined engines out there than this 2.4 turbo. And then you're paying, the same money, and you could get a better experience in theory elsewhere. So, and you drive a Porsche, so what are your thoughts there?
Well, so that's the only car that I guess I decided to spoil myself with it, the Macan GTS. But basically, the Macan is now an Audi. It has Audi engine, Audi transmission, Audi suspension. It still feels a little bit like a Porsche, but less and less so compared to back in 2017, 2018, when it had a Porsche engine and a Porsche transmission, a Porsche suspension. So this one has the 2.9 liter turbocharged engine. Still 6-cylinder though, and it's got tremendous amount of power and torque. Like you step on it, goes. But it's still it's a 6-cylinder. The 2-liter turbocharged 4 in the base Macan, it's actually fantastic. To be honest, it feels better than the Toyota turbocharged 4s.
For sure, yeah.
I think the Germans are really good at smaller turbocharged engine, which is kind of weird, right? Well, that was the territory for Japanese brands, but all the German cars have a really good turbocharged 4. So that's probably why Toyota is trying to do the same thing, trying to follow the same footstep. But I don't know what it is. It doesn't quite feel right yet. But
I'll take a step back. Like when I drove the LS 500 for the first time, going from the
Mhm.
V8 to the twin turbo V6. Tons of power. It's fast as heck, but you lose that smoothness, you lose that refinement. And that car would even rough idle. I don't know if they've worked it out with the newest models. I haven't driven a brand new LS in a couple of years, but
Mhm.
dude, I'm like, this,
It's a bit rough. The LS was a little bit rough. I agree.
yeah,
I drove one last year, and actually, it feels better in the Tundra with the hybrid than it did in the LS, which is
I
a bit
believe
weird,
that.
right?
I believe that. Yeah.
So yeah, well, this is just the way the world is going because
Yeah.
the emission standard is not just
Yeah.
the fuel efficiency. They can't always meet the emission standard the way these larger engines are. But the V8 engine in my Lexus GX, oh my goodness, like
Butter.
yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't care about the fuel economy at this
No, 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 no,
point.
no.
I don't
Well,
drive that much anyways.
yeah,
It's just so good.
yeah,
Like
yeah. That 6-speed auto is perfection too, in my opinion.
you cannot replicate that feel. It doesn't matter how
Yeah.
much you try. So, I do keep buying new cars because it's a good thing to talk about new models, but this is the one that I might not let go. I might just keep
You
the
might keep
GX.
your GX.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. This is the one I can't let it go.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's
I don't know.
the GX. I've driven the LX 470 too, or say the GX 470. I don't know if I said LX 470, but I've driven that too. But the GX 472 was just, it felt like pure refinement. Everything about the suspension was
Mhm.
smooth. That 4.7 liter V8, super smooth. And when I feel like the GX nature hasn't changed at all since
He
what?
hasn't.
When did it come out? 2004 or something?
Something like
2003?
that, yeah. I had a older one too. I had a 2008 or 2009, I think, and I bought another one at 2016,
Mm-hmm.
then I let it go, and then this is probably my last GX I might buy for a while, but so, yeah, there's something it's also made in Tahara, right? It's just Tahara
Right.
factory is so amazingly, well executed. Anything coming out of Tahara factory is just you look at the panel gap, the paint quality, the fit and finish, it had this kinda sense of elegance that you just do not get from other factories. Maybe Motomachi factory is pretty close, but
Motomachi is excellent.
yeah.
And what do you think do you think Toyota, puts some of their most experienced Takumi, or maybe not even Takumi at that point, because that's very reserved for the best of
Mhm.
the best, maybe even only at the Motomachi is, I could be wrong. But do you think they appropriate some of the more skilled workers, best workers to the Tahara plant, the Motomachi plant?
Right. Yeah. So the definition of Takumi from Toyota's perspective, not the marketing definition, but the
Sure.
normal definition, is anyone who's got 30 years or
Wow.
more experience, 30 to 35 years. And
Yeah.
then among them, they handpick the one that's particularly good with difficult job. And then they transfer them to Moromachi from all across different plants in Japan. So at Tahara, because there's so many senior members there who's got 25, 30, 35 years experience, because Tahara, you kind of have to remember Tahara is located in kind of middle of nowhere. It's in near Toyohashi station, and it's not that close to Nagoya. It's pretty far. So lots of local hires, very loyal people working there. So you've got people with so much experience that they're practically the same level as the Takumi specialist you find in Motomachi factory. But they're all like that. They're all got 20, 25 years experience. Not too many young people working at Tahara. So that's why almost every Lexus is about there. Almost
Yeah,
every model,
one of
with
them.
exception of a few,
Oh yeah.
which is built in the also southern Japan. But
Mhm.
Motomachi factory, they transfer some of the really, really skillful ones, and they put them into, as you know, GR Corolla and Lexus LC and
Yeah, I'll see.
a
Yep.
GR ERS. They have an offshoot, a separate factory, and they work there. But they're about the same level. It's not a huge difference in skill
Right.
set between experienced Tahara production workers and senior managers compared to Moromachi one. They're about the same, and they tend to float around quite a bit. So the difference is that in Motomachi GR shop, as they call it,
Mhm.
these guys have a little bit more knowledge of a special one-off, sort of a sports car or GR type model. So they have more knowledge of
Like the
advanced.
LSA too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Advanced
yeah.
materials and stuff. So more specialized skills. But in terms of the handcraftsmanship, ability to see the defects and fix it, about the same between Tahara and Motomachi Takumi members.
Fantastic.
So yeah, like they're still closed for visitors. So I can't take you there yet, Kirk, in
One
Motomachi
day.
or Tahara.
Yeah.
I used to go there all the time. I used to go to Tahara a couple times a year, Motomachi almost 4 times a year. And yeah, because of pandemic, they closed all
Right.
tours. I can't even get in, even though I know people there. I still can't get in. But where were we now? So we talked about Forerunner a bit. I think that's going to be pushed out. Yes, it will probably have the turbocharged 4, but I don't think it'll be built in Mexico.
Mhm.
Land Cruiser, I think it'll be Land Cruiser Prado, not Land Cruiser 300. If you're still doubting that's going to happen or not happen, I'm like very sure that it's going to happen. We don't know the name, but I'm pretty sure it'll happen sometime in
Mhm.
2023. Any other mystery? Oh, Century. I talked about the Century SUV. Just
Mhm.
posted that last night. Not sure if you had a chance to look at it, Kirk. What do you think of that? A Century SUV that will compete with the Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
Oh, man.
Hopefully I'm
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pronouncing that
Well,
correctly.
I don't think it would ever come to America. I think it would be
No.
more for Japan, Singapore, China situation. I think it's the right way to go. Toyota, unfortunately, they're kind of like a market reactor instead of a trendsetter. So they
Mhm.
see, the Bentayga and the Cullinan, and they're like, oh well, and even the Aston Martin, was it the DBX? They see these things doing well. And they're like, well, we can do the same, and then they'll come out with an amazing product in theory. So I think they'll. I don't know what kind of engine it would have. I haven't looked into it really a whole lot. I think it. I know some things that I can't say. I guess I'll say that. But another commenter, I guess I'll segue away from that, and we can come back to it if you want. But Paul Rubin says, "Will the TX have the V6?" So there's a
Where's that
possibility the
message?
TX, the Grand Highlander, and the
Oh, here we
the
go.
Crown SUV could have some similarities. And the V6 could be in the TX in the form of a plug-in hybrid. I don't think they will bring it in as the base powertrain. It's a possibility. I think turbo 4 cylinders are going to be replacing most V6s in the Toyota lineup. I think the Hybrid Max or the RX 500h powertrain is pretty much a lock for the TX.
I
Because
think so too.
yeah, there are a few trademarks for the TX. There's the TX 350 that's trademarked, TX 500h. We already have a 500h in the Toyota or Lexus lineup, so
Mhm.
we know what
That's
that'll
right.
be.
Yeah.
What we don't know 100% for sure is the 550h plus. We know that's a
Yeah.
plug-in hybrid, and it could be with the V6. So
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting because the GX also has the 550 number, right? So those two should be sharing the same
true.
engine,
Similar output.
similar output.
So
Yeah. So I think the TX will not have a V6 engine. That's my guess.
just your guess.
But that's my guess. But it's all hard to say because the Century SUV speculation from Best Car Magazine says it'll be a Grand Highlander TX platform, but we'll have a 3.4 twin turbo V6,
They could
not
do that.
right, not the
Yep.
2.4 turbo 4. So if that's the case, yeah, it's possible TX will also have the V6. It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Yeah. But the 550, it's a 550H, I think that's trademarked. 550H plus, and that's
Oh,
that's
plus,
just a
okay.
big, yeah, that means plug-in
Interesting.
hybrid, and typically it's a lower displacement compared to the non-hybrid names that have this same, if that makes sense. Like,
Right. But we haven't had any model announced with the 550 number yet, right? So that's why it's a bit of a mystery
no,
still.
not
Yeah.
officially. Yep. So
No, are we missing some messages? I'm not paying attention too much. If you are really generous, you can always do what is it called? Super chat? No.
super chat or yes. Just
Then
send David some money for Christmas.
no, I'm gonna give that
Absolutely.
money. Whatever I get, I'll be donating it to some charity anyway.
There you go.
But that will sometime help us to see your questions. I think Mike earlier asked me to put two-door Land Cruiser on a screen. So let me do that quickly. People don't know that this thing
Oh yeah,
exists.
the 2/3 door
Right. I think
Auto.
this is
Yeah,
it.
pretty
Is this
awesome.
right?
They've
I'm
been
just in
making
the
it for
search
a long
function, but
time.
that's a 2-door Land Cruiser stripped down version.
Mhm. There's hardly any information about it recently. I believe they still make it for certain markets.
Hmm. Yeah, as far as I know, they still do make it, but not for Japan. I think it's for India or something, or
Yeah.
Middle East somewhere, I
Yeah,
think.
Asia or Middle East would be my
It
guess.
looks so cool though. I mean, look at
It's
that.
cool.
Oh, no,
Yeah, it
that's a
reminds
4-door. That's a 4-door. Sorry.
reminds me of like the 2-door Yukons and those Chevys back in the day.
Hmm. It's definitely not coming to North America.
No, 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 no,
We don't like 2-doors. We don't sell 2-door,
no.
so that's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
look at the demise of the coupe. That says a lot. And then like
Exactly.
a coupe SUV, that's just a bizarre thing. So
I know. Yeah, exactly. Anything else you guys want me to show you guys on the screen? I'm still working on the
K5
rendering.
Blazer, yes, K5 Blazer.
What is it?
Um,
Missing K5 Blazer.
what was that?
K5 Blazer.
What was that? A Suzu, a Vehicross, or what was that? Suzuki?
Oh, Vehicross?
Yeah, was that a Suzu that's
Oh yeah,
looked
yeah,
like a
yes, yes.
toy car?
Isuzu.
That was a 3-door.
I was trying to buy one.
Oh,
Isuzu.
good luck. I see a lot of
Vehicross.
Isuzus, Suzukis, a lot of cool stuff down here.
Let me
South
share.
Florida. A lot of Monteros as well.
Mhm. Well, I'm connected with this guy now that in Japan imports bunch of cars. Let me see, where did it go? Oh, here.
Are you going to get yourself some K cars?
Actually, I really want the Land Cruiser, the FJ40 series. Is it the 40 series?
Yeah.
40 series, the original
Mhm.
super
From
retro.
the
Well, because
70s.
it's old, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that. Oh, here's a vehicles. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I never even
Love
thought
it.
about trying to look for this in Japan and
So
bring
they're
it
so cool.
back. I feel like someone did that. Some
Doug DeMuro
YouTuber.
did a video on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's Doug right there. Interesting. That one has 2.6 million views.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to do the Toyota FJ40.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
look at
Look at
these.
that baby.
I mean, this is the there's a company in Florida, right, that does the restoration, Restomod
Okay.
on FJ. It's like $150,000 for these things. So that's crazy. But I just want plain basic old FJ, and then I have a guy who can fix it in Japan. So if I can find one, I'm going to get this guy who is a former head of production for Nissan GTR engine.
Oh yeah.
He's like amazing. This guy knows everything. He's retired now. He's a good friend of mine. I'm going to see him in Japan soon. And he said he'll fix it up for me. Everything, engine, body, suspension. So I'm trying to find out from this one agent that he works with, if we can find FJ40, bring it into Japan, because he might be coming from Middle East. And then Takumi-san, his name is actually Takumi, he'll fix it up for me.
Okay.
Who knows how long that might take. And then I'll re-import it back to Canada or North America here. So that's one of my kind of longer term pet project.
And then I'll come visit you and we'll go off-roading
Exactly.
in British
Yeah,
Columbia.
exactly. I did buy because I can't find FJ40 right now. I did buy I think I told you 1981 Cadillac Eldorado Barrettes.
Yes.
Did I tell you? I think I told you.
I
have a
don't
photo here.
yeah. I remember, I don't know if you told me, but I remember seeing something about it. So
Let me see. Eldorado Barrettes. I can spell this thing. It's the most stupid, crazy project I've done.
look at this thing.
Look at that. That's the original
Is it?
brochure.
Love it. Love it.
It's just crazy. Why did I do that? I have no idea why I ended up buying this. It looks like this dark blue color, sort of color.
That's like a pimp wagon. That thing's ridiculous.
But I grew up with I had a good friend of mine, my neighbor, whose father had this car back when I was like teenage years, and the only thing that my dad can afford is a beaten up Chevy Impala. And so I was like was jealous of this guy's father, I should say, who had this beautiful Cadillac. And so I don't know, years later, because I found one for a really, really cheap price.
I got you.
I ended up buying. Sorry, I got something started from the
Okay.
background. So I ended up buying that. So anyway, that's my pet project for now. I can't drive it in this winter right now. But
Right.
are we missing any other questions or anything?
I'm trying to. I'm sure we missed a ton earlier, so I'm trying to kind of look back a little bit earlier and see if we missed any juicy ones.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions that we missed earlier that we can still respond to you guys? We covered most of the TNGA stuff. We didn't talk about the Prius too much, but we all love the design. And so, but they're not expecting to sell that many of it because no one buys small cars anymore, which is kind of sad. It's such a great looking model. And
Yeah,
people's not
well,
going to buy it.
Toyota might have been a little short-sighted on that one. I think with the design and the power upgrade, it's attracting people who've traditionally hated on the Prius. Now it handles okay. It's got skinny tires and whatnot, but hey, in a straight line, it's responsive and it's got a good amount of power. But the best part about a Prius to me is chilling and getting really, really good fuel economy. And you can do that now looking good for the first time. So it's not, I don't even think it's a Prius because it's such a big departure. Some people are saying it should be called the Celica or Celica, as you say.
That's true. If they call it Celica 4-door, it would sell like hotcakes. Just like like bringing the Integra, or not bringing the Integra name, it's always been there, but for a long time ago. But right, Celica 4-door would have been cool.
It would have worked.
But
the Prius still has a lot of name recognition, and I think it's almost like a shock value now. Because if it would have been called the Celica, people would have been like, okay, rest in peace, Prius. But now it's like, whoa, wait, the Prius is quicker than like a Civic Si now. Doesn't handle like one. Trust me, does not handle like one. But it's quick, and you get 50 miles per gallon.
Yeah, I think it should do well. I would buy one if I'm looking for a smaller car, but I'm a truck guy, so that might be a little bit tricky.
Right.
Just looking through the questions. Let me see, where are we? Someone said that Land Cruiser Prado name was trademark in Canada a few years back. I missed that, I guess, at some point. I really don't think they're going to kill the 4Runner though, guys. I'm hearing more and more comments.
Oh, it would be foolish.
Hey, they will not do that. They will not kill the branding.
Oh my gosh.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Here's the thing. Globally, Land Cruiser has a larger name recognition and more equity. In North America, 4Runner is massive.
He's a king. Yeah, 150,000 units or something.
Yeah, 150,000 4Runners a year. They were selling them 2,000 to 3,000 Land Cruiser 200s per year prior to its cancellation.
Exactly, to put things in perspective, right?
Yeah, the mind share of the 4Runner is massive. They can't get rid of it.
They won't get rid of it. Even the Sequoia only sold about 3,000 too in previous years. Not sure what the number is for the new model because they just don't have the volume in terms of production side. But so don't worry. Rest assured that 4Runner is not going away. But the new version of 4Runner might keep on getting delayed. We don't know that for sure. But the current one is pretty good already. So not too many people are sad that it's got delayed. One of my staff drives the 4Runner most of the time, and she loves it. She really likes it. She likes it more than the RAV4 Prime that we had. She likes it more than Highlander. And so there's that kind of just like the GX, right? It's got that kind of the organic, heavy duty feel that it doesn't seem to exist in any modern SUVs or even modern body on frame SUVs. Like if you drive the Lexus LX 600 and drive the 4Runner or my Lexus GX, it feels different. Not just because of the engine, but there's something they did to lighten the car. It's mostly aluminum now, and it doesn't have the same heavy duty feel, I think.
Here's a question for you, David, and I can chime in too. But JSF Bay says, if Honda can build a brand new naturally aspirated V6 Why can't Toyota? I think he's referring to the 3.5 liter that's in the Pilot. It's got 5 more horsepower. It's been
Right.
revised. I wouldn't say it's an all new, but I think it's a revision. He says,
Right.
I get turbos are the way of the future, but Honda apparently thinks a V6 is a better route for the 23 Pilot.
Right. So I don't know. I'm trying to show that question. Where is it now?
JSF Bay.
Can you show it on your side? No, I guess not.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't.
Okay. Anyway, well, the answer is actually pretty simple, and most people won't think of it this way. But Honda is a substantially smaller company than Toyota, with very limited resources for what they can do to develop and create new engines, new powertrains. So more than anything else, they want to stay with a tried and true, a proven engine that for the most part works for them, that has a decent fuel efficiency, not if not great. And rather than reinventing the wheel and creating a whole bunch of newer powertrain, like the way Toyota is doing, they want to stay with a proven reliability powertrain and then put that in a new body. For them, that strategy works because that's the demographic that's buying the Hondas.
Right.
And eventually they all know, just like the rest of the world, they're going to become fully electric anyway. So
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
yeah, so it might not matter so much that you don't have a more efficient turbocharged four-cylinder engine now, because in 5 or 10 years, it wouldn't matter anymore. There wouldn't be a gasoline engine anyway. So I think for them, having a good, proven V6 engine as a stopgap measure until becoming fully electric, it makes business sense. They just don't have the R&D power to do it. So I think that's the real reason. Whereas Toyota is still trying to hold on to this notion that we can have a world with hybrids, fuel efficient four-cylinder engines, and plug-in hybrids and fully electric cars. They don't want to become fully electric brand all overnight, because Toyota owns so many companies. Not sure people realize that they own more than 300 companies. That ranges from Denso to Aishin, the transmission manufacturer. So imagine if all of a sudden everything became fully electric. Well, 200 out of the 300 companies that Toyota owns will be obsolete because they make some kind of engine components or powertrain components. So it wouldn't make business sense for Toyota to become fully electric all of a sudden. They need to find a stopgap measure and slowly transition, evolve to that world. And that's why they're trying synthetic fuels, hydrogen fuels, so they can still keep some kind of combustion engine alive, or a plug-in hybrid perhaps, and keep that part of the segment and industry alive, because they're responsible for hundreds and thousands of employment that is still dependent on some kind of combustion engine, internal combustion engines, so ICE. So I think that's why their strategy is a little bit different from others. But they're forced to go into full EV, right? That's the world we're headed to. But they're going to try to, and I think they will come up with other ways to create ICE, but without using normal gasoline. That's probably the future. Synthetic fuels are already happening. They can do hydrogen fuels, hydrogen fuel powered engines, I should say.
Yep.
And
yeah, hydrogen, Toyota, and Honda, for that matter, are really looking, and Hyundai, as BMW, amongst others, they're really looking forward to hydrogen in the future. Requires a lot less materials to build these vehicles, should keep the cost of the vehicles down, have a lesser impact on the environment as well, if they can find better ways to get massive amounts of green hydrogen. And there are breakthroughs happening on this all the time. So it's going to happen probably in sometime in my lifetime, where hydrogen is going to be fairly widely available, and battery packs will continue to evolve and get better as well. So I think hydrogen is more of a long-term solution, and battery electric could be more of a short-term, but we're already starting to feel the squeeze as all these manufacturers are needing the raw materials for these batteries, and lithium costs are going through the roof, as well as nickel, cobalt, etc. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to see Honda not turbocharging or hybridizing everything. They can kind of do that in a lot of ways. It's all about the CAFE and their EPA average fleet. I'm not an expert at that, but Honda's overall, their brand here in North America is pretty fuel efficient. So it's a chess game. It's like, which models can we get away with putting little investment in for the powertrain, and which models do we need to hybridize? And you're seeing that the Accord, the Civic, by the end of 2023 will be hybridized. The Accord is going to be 50% hybrid. The CRV is already 50% hybrid. At least that's their expectation with these new generations. So that allows them, with all those hybrids, the mass volume hybrids for their three top sellers. The Pilot might actually outsell the Accord nowadays. I'm not quite sure, but their top selling vehicles are now half being hybrid, and that allows for things like the Ridgeline, the Passport, the Odyssey, and the Pilot here to still continue running that tried and true 3.5 liter V6 with the new upgraded 10-speed auto. So I think a lot of people still want that here in North America. As we talked about, the V6s from these manufacturers are smoother, more predictable, and not really any less efficient than a lot of these larger turbo 4-cylinder engines. So I guess I'll leave it there.
Well, even the Tundra, right? TRD Pro, I own the fuel efficiency. I didn't drive that truck for a very long time, so it was still early in the game. But it wasn't getting what is it, 17 miles per gallon average or something like that. So 16 or 17. So it's maybe a couple miles better than the V8, but it's not substantially better even with the hybrid.
You're adding weight too to the situation.
Yeah,
it's a catch-22.
No, I do want to come back to, I know there was a couple of questions about what the new Land Cruiser Prado or the GX or 4Runner might look like. That's going to be a huge guess. I suspect whatever rendering I've done so far is probably wrong by now, so I have to work on a new one. But one thing that we keep hearing over and over again from many different sources are that they look much more rugged, more like the Ford Bronco, Defender, Mercedes G-Class. What does that exactly mean? It's a little hard to say. But they're going to look quite different, right, from the normal SUV style, generic SUV style design that we're seeing now in the current Land Cruiser and Prado. So I think all three models, Land Cruiser, Prado, the new GX, the new 4Runner, will have that rugged design, which would be cool because it's not the Land Cruiser 70 series, but and it's not FJ Cruiser. But it will have some of that flavor, I think, built in. What do you think, Kirk?
Absolutely. We'll definitely see a big design departure from previous Land Cruisers, or should I say most recent Land Cruisers. And I think they'll try to tie in a lot of retro designs, maybe tie in a little FJ40. That light cruiser BEV kind of did that last year when Akio Toyota previewed all those BEVs. It kind of just looked like a neo-retro Land Cruiser, just shrunken down. So I've also heard things coming from the dealers, possibly that this Land Cruiser could look in some ways like the FJ40 in some ways, or the FJ Cruiser, because FJ Cruiser in some ways did embody some of those design features of earlier Land Cruisers. So
yeah, very retro looking is what we're hearing, right? So it could be really, really amazing design. But so I got to work on the new rendering for that. I don't think it's going to have a circular round headlights, but it will have some kind of retro look.
Yeah.
I was trying to look for that EV Cruiser photo, right, Kirk?
Yeah, pull it up. While you're doing that, RMC Mountain says Prius 2023 cargo space seems deeper in Japanese reveals in the US. Maybe the LE has deeper cargo. It does have deeper cargo. The LE has like 3 more cubic feet of cargo capacity or so, compared to the 19-inch wheels on the XLE and the Limited. Not sure exactly why that is. I honestly don't know, because I haven't test drove the LE yet. We know that the LE also has a spare tire, and the LE is probably going to be more in line with most of the Japanese models, I would say. And also the Japanese models, from my understanding, still get the 1.8 and a lot of the trims, or at least as an option, where all of the models here are now 2.0, the M28 engine. But there's that light cruiser that we were just mentioning a second ago.
Right, EV concept. Sorry, EV compact cruiser. I think it's called compact cruiser EV.
Mhm.
And then there was another. Oh, here's a Tacoma, by the way. They could look something like this. But
Mhm.
remember, there's also was it Toyota Philippine or something, that Indonesia, that just had a major reveal.
No,
60
it's in
years.
Thailand.
Thailand. Sorry, yeah.
Thailand, they have a Hilux EV, and
Thailand.
then they also have a fuel cell
60
concept.
anniversary, 60th anniversary.
Yep.
And then in there was a truck that they have not shown before. So where did
They're
that
very,
photo
yeah,
go?
like they're very work-based pickup trucks, long beds, single cabs.
Mhm. But there was one that looks like an EV cruiser. This one here. See?
Yeah,
It's
yep.
got, that's a little hard to say, but here, right here. See the front? Has
Yep,
that
I saw
EV
that.
cruiser look.
Yep.
Let me see if there's a closer shot somewhere. No, I don't have a closer photo. But, oh, here, maybe this one. Here, see?
Yep. That's
It's
it.
got the same front end as the EV cruiser.
Very, very, very similar.
It's not funny. So they do use cross shop or cross use design from
Yep.
concept car to somewhere else in the world, right?
Mhm.
So
I
maybe
think
we will get,
that one might be the hydrogen. I think that might be the
it might be
hydrogen
the hydrogen.
concept. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It's got a long bed in the back, right?
Really,
Like
yeah,
this.
super long so they can
Long.
stuff
Yeah.
those tanks in it
Mhm.
probably.
So it's interesting. This one is,
Then they
this is
have
the other one, Revo, the whatever they call it, Revo, based on the Hilux. So they showed a bunch of cars in Thailand. Okay,
Yep.
all right. Any other questions, guys? Because we're gonna begin to wind down here. It's being how long? Hour and something? How long
Yeah,
have we been
hour
doing
and
this?
15 minutes, hour and
Hour
20
and
minutes.
15 minutes.
Yep.
Time flies fast when you're having fun.
Mhm.
And with Kirk and I can keep on talking forever.
Yeah, it's
So we'll have to, because Kirk's time, it's, what time is it there? 8 o'clock
7:47.
almost?
Yeah, almost 8.
We gotta let Kirk go to bed soon. Anything else? Last couple questions to finish off. Okay, what's this? Let's show this one question here. I'm waiting for new 4Runner TRD off-road or the Tacoma TRD off-road. Which one is better for off-road? Well, it depends on what kind of off-roading you do. Personally, I own both. I own both Tacoma and 4Runner, and just for general driving, the 4Runner is much smoother. It's more comfortable.
Oh,
It's more
yeah.
manageable. It's just a better
Yeah.
truck overall.
Yep.
Unless you need a pickup bed. If you need a bed in the back, then that's a whole different story. But in terms of off-roading, I think the T4Runner will still be better with a shorter
Mhm.
shorter body, not shorter body, but more abrupt cutoff in the front
Mhm.
and back, departure angles and
Right.
so forth. Whereas the Tacoma with a long bed is sometimes awkward. Trucks are awkward to take it on off-roading. So that's my view.
Mhm.
Any comments on that one, Kirk?
No, yeah, shorter wheelbases are typically better for off-roading. 4Runner has I'm assuming, I don't know off the top of my head, but being an SUV should have a shorter wheelbase than the Tacoma. Yeah, 4Runner is a better off-roading vehicle for sure, in my opinion.
Okay. Maybe last question. Will the full-time four-wheel drive be added to the next 4Runner? Well, we already have it in the limited model. It has full-time four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So I don't think they will remove that. I'm still sad that they never added the automatic four-wheel drive in the Tundra and Sequoia, especially in the Sequoia. I think that's a huge miss from Toyota's perspective. But on the 4Runner, they won't remove that because it's very important. There's still a lot of the limited models, so I'm sure they won't remove that.
There's one question, Jagons, that says, do you think the Camry would be a toned down Crown? I think it could very well have the same powertrains. I'm hearing that the Camry might be fully hybrid, just like the Crown is. So yeah, it could be a toned down Crown. I think it'll be a lower, more sedan like Crown. You could think of it that way, but built here in America as opposed to over in Japan.
Whether the front design, I think you call it the lobster claw. Is that what you call it?
That's what I call it. Toyota calls it the hammerhead design.
Hammerhead. I call it the boomerang design
Boomerang, yeah.
or clamshell, whatever. And so,
Yep.
but that design definitely is like going through all of the Toyota lineup, right? Not just the Prius, but you can see it on the Crown. So I think that's the
Yep.
front new signature design. So that will probably carry on to all the other models, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, we saw the first, maybe one of the first iterations on the BZ4X. And
Mhm.
then when I was in LA to preview the Prius, they also had the BZ compact SUV, which had kind of a next generation of that hammerhead design. So we're just seeing the beginning of it, to be honest.
I gotta highlight Jimmy here because Jimmy is a good friend of both myself and Kirk. He is has the biggest heart and always takes time to write some amazing comments, right, Kirk? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
big
Very
shout
kind
out,
again.
very kind, Jimmy. Big shout out to you. And we can't always get to your comments, so I apologize that in advance. But you've got your love for Lexus and Toyota cars, but you have it's people like you that makes it worthwhile for us to do this. So I really appreciate that, and I know you are on a GX 460. You plan to buy some more. I think you own the LC as well. I think, or you're going to buy LC. So good for you for that. We appreciate you, and hopefully, when I come and visit Kirk in Florida, we'll come and see you as well because I believe you're in Florida. All right. With that, I think we're going to begin to wrap up here and keep an eye on both of our channels. We have lots of stories coming, even though it's a Christmas time. Kirk has his new electric car focus channel, Quirky Kirk. Is that right?
Turkey cars.
Quirky Cars. Sorry,
Yep. A
Quirky
lot of
Cars. It's
fun.
got a really cute name to it,
It's great.
and
It's allowing me to expand quite a bit my knowledge and just coverage of more automakers. And the cool thing is, so I know this might not be the most exciting thing for a lot of you guys who are mostly focused on Japanese cars or specifically Toyota, whatever it may be. The cool thing is, a lot of these manufacturers are like, yeah, well, we'd love to get you the EVs and you can feature them, but they're like, well, would you be open to having other cars in our brands as well, like ICE cars? I'm like, absolutely. I'm not going to turn down opportunity. And, Volkswagen's just randomly been sending me things for a while. I've been doing Volvo on my normal channel. So that will be expanding on my main channel to incorporate more gasoline or more performance vehicles. I know for sure I have Audi S8 and SQ8 coming down the hatch, which will be an absolute hoot. And then, from Audi, BMW, just heard back from Stellantis today, and the list keeps growing of manufacturers that are going to be sending me cars for both channels. So I can't wait
excellent.
to just expand my coverage and be more knowledgeable, because the more knowledgeable I am about other brands, it definitely helps me compare and be more experienced when I talk about the Japanese and Korean brands as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good move, Kirk, because there's so many interesting cars in general that's outside the normal Japanese brands that we deal with. I get all kinds of different brands. I have a Mercedes COS this week, for
Oh,
example,
cool.
and so I think it just like you say, expands the knowledge and wisdom and insight because now you can do real benchmarking, right? Comparing different models and brands and so forth. So that's really exciting, and I'm
Thank you.
super happy for you because of
Thanks,
that.
man.
I'm gonna show one more comment because Mike from Right Lang Hog is always helping us with like I think he's the one that stopped almost all the spam that was coming through. So big shout out to Mike who always gets us connected. He got me connected with Ahmed from Car Care Nut, who by the way couldn't join us today. So yeah, there's lots of snow. Mike, you have to come over and help me get me out of this snowstorm. But obviously he's in Ottawa, so he's used to having snow. But big thank you to you for helping as well. And there's many other people who have helped us in some form or shape throughout the year to get to where we are, both for Kirk and myself, but especially for me because I'm still pretty new to YouTube world, and Kirk has been a huge help. But all of you guys have been supporting me, and so I think we did this partly to say thank you from bottom of our heart for
Mhm.
being with us, for guiding us, supporting us, and really just taking care of us because without you, we wouldn't be here. And
Mhm.
we're just ever so thankful for the chance to work with you and be engaged with you and give us more feedback and give us some guidance as to what you want to see in 2023 because both of us have got lots of stuff planned. And Kirk and I'll continue to
Mhm.
work together as well. So anything that you can provide for guidance and feedback, that will be truly appreciated. And spread the good news, please, for both of us. We want to see more people get excited about cars and be connected with us and talk about many things, anything to do with cars. So yeah, over to you, Kirk, as we kind of finalize the last
Sure.
pieces here.
Yeah, thanks, David, for having me on the channel. Your live stream went really smoothly today. We're trying out a new program, and things went really, really well. So that's great. And also thanks to our fans for showing up. Your support's awesome. Obviously, I couldn't be full time without you guys, so I appreciate you. What a Christmas gift you are to me and my family. And I really appreciate your guys' support on the live streams. You know, David and I, we we would love to live stream more, and we probably could. So this is something we would need to talk about off stream to see if it's a podcast worthy thing, because you got to keep in mind David's full-time job is not YouTube, and you could say my full-time job is being a father to a bunch of crazy, cute, adorable little girls and being, you know, being in their lives as much as I can. And so we could probably do it more, but that's something, like I said, we'll have to figure out into the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have a very busy life as well there with your wonderful kids, and like you said, I still have a full-time engineering consulting job, so that keeps both of us pretty busy. But this is our passion. This is what keeps us going forward. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be lots of fun next year. And yeah, with that, I think we're gonna sign off. I don't think I missed anything else super urgent. And we'll do again sometime in the new year. Maybe I'll do one from Japan if the time zone works, from Tokyo Auto Salon, and get Kirk patched in at the same time. And
I'll
we'll
be up
see
at
you
3 a.m. Let's go.
Let's do that. You wake up early anyway.
Yeah, 5 a.m.
So,
So
yeah, there
no
you
big
go.
deal.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. We're going to end the broadcast. You can watch it again in the replay, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
Merry Christmas, everyone.